and terror to Australia was the wild colonial boy.
Saturday, 14th June 1862. The planning, the preparation, and the recruitment for the most daring armed robbery in Australian history was complete. The hold-up of the Forbes Gold Escort stagecoach. Bushranger Frank Gardiner's gang included his lieutenant Johnny Gilbert and local louts John O'Meally, Henry Manns, John Bowe, Alex Fordyce, Dan Charters, and Ben Hall. They set off from John Maguire and Ben Hall's property, Sandy Creek, for the robbery site at Eugowra Rocks, arriving on Sunday morning, 15th of June 1862. Sunday morning at Forbes. The Gold Escort coach was preparing for its departure. The coach was driven by John Fagan and protected by 4 police troopers. Sergeant James Condell was in charge and was seated next to the driver. Inside the coach sat Constables Hallavand, Rafferty and Moran. At 12 noon, the Gold Escort departed Forbes for the trip to Orange. At Eugowra Rocks, Gardiner's gang prepared their weapons of shotguns and Navy Colt revolvers, placed on their disguises of red woolen hoods and took up their positions. Gardiner immediately bailed up 2 merchant bullock drays as they approached the rocks. He decided to place the drays across the road to create an obstacle for the oncoming coach. He then ordered the teamsters to lay next to the drays as if resting. At 5 p.m, driver John Fagan approached Eugowra Rocks. Seeing the drays, he slowed the horses down to a walk to manoeuvre around them. Gardiner, without warning, ordered the gang to open fire. The late afternoon air erupted with a volley of lead balls being fired simultaneously. Fagan's clothes were peppered with shot. Sergeant Condell was less fortunate and struck in the left ribs. Inside the coach, Constable Moran was wounded in the groin. The sudden sound of gunfire startled the horses, and Fagan leapt off the coach to steady them. As the next volley was fired, it caused the horses to bolt. The coach travelled a short distance, struck some rocks, and toppled over on its side. Sergeant Condell was thrown to the roadway, and the troopers inside under fire scrambled out of the stricken coach, helping the wounded Moran, and returned fire with their revolvers. The police, outgunned and wounded, retreated to the bush. As they made their way the half-mile to Clements station, they could hear the gang cheering their success. On arrival, Sergeant Condell dispatched Mr. Clements to Forbes, 27 miles away, to report the attack. After the police retreat, Gardiner and his gang converged on the toppled coach to gather up their prize, which consisted of 2,717 ounces of gold and 3,700 pounds in cash. Working quickly, Ben Hall helped load their bounty onto 2 of the coach's horses. They departed the scene in high spirits 2 miles from Eugowra Rocks. To whoops of delight, they transferred the gold from the boxes to their saddlebags and burned their disguises. They proceeded a further 9 miles to Newell's Inn, where some rations were procured and eaten. At midnight, the gang set off for Gardiner's hideout site on Mount Wago, 60 miles away, arriving at 2 p.m, Monday afternoon, 16th of June 1862. Here, Gardiner divided the spoils of their success into 8 shares. Ben Hall, who lived close to the hideout, departed with his share along with O'Meally and Bowe, leaving the rest of the villains camped on Mount Wago. After a hard ride, Mr. Clements arrived in Forbes late in the evening and reported to Inspector Pottinger of the Escort attack. Pottinger immediately assembled 11 troopers and 2 Aboriginal trackers and headed for Clements Station. On arrival at Clements, Pottinger checked on the condition of the wounded troopers. He then ordered the coach to be righted to transport the troopers to Orange. Pottinger and the trackers then commenced the hunt for the Bushrangers. The escort coach concluded its eventful journey and entered the city of Orange. As it approached the corner of the commercial hotel, Constable Moran's revolver, which during the battle had slid under the seat, discharged, killing Constable Hallavand sitting inside. The brave trooper died instantly.
A terror to Australia was the wild colonial boy. One morning on the prairie wilds, as Jackie rode along, a listening to the mockingbird a singing.